Yep. What's up, guys? Adam, Gotham Sports here with Coast to Coast Hoops, first episode of 2022-2023. Here with my boy Skojo. Gonna break down some conference winners today and just break down each conference, play of the years. Skojo's got some futures for you. I got some picks for the conference winners. And yeah, Monday, man, starts the madness. Can't wait. And March will be here before you know it. So. First conference we're going to break down is Scotia's conference, Pac-12. Again, every year some surprising odds. I know Scotia's got some favorites for him. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, well, Monday tomorrow, it's life begins again for me, sports. Yeah. I mean, fantasy football's going on and everything right now, so I'm having fun with that. But nothing like college basketball. But yeah, I mean, obviously, everybody knows I'm the Sun Devil. So the Pac-12 conference, I know pretty well. I'm also in a Pac-12 betting contest that I do every year. We got about 100, 150 guys that do that, where we bet every game and every total in conference games only, not outside the conference. This is only conference games. So we've been doing that for a long time. That's been a lot of fun. But yeah, this year, I mean, at the top, as usual, I mean, you're going to have UCLA, Arizona, but they, all these teams have lost pieces and they're going to have to gel. Oregon, Dana Altman, he does a great job, but again, they're all loading up, and it's just how well these teams can gel. But I think those are going to be your top three teams, Arizona, Oregon, and UCLA. And then, 4 through 9 is just going to be a battle. I mean, you got a lot of teams, and Stanford should be better this year. ASU got some good players in this year, and can they gel? So that's really what it's going to be about in the Pac-12. But I like, UCLA to, just with their pedigree and everything, and with Tiger and Jaquez, I like them to win the regular season. Once we get into the tournament, anything can happen when you're playing 3 games in 3 days. But some sleeper teams in the Pac-12 this year. I know I'm a homer when I say this, but Arizona State, they got Frankie Collins in from Michigan. It's really the first pure passing point guard that Bobby Hurley's had, surprisingly enough, in his 8 years. This kid's a pass first. He gets his teammates involved. He can score, but he's definitely a pass first point guard. And then you got Marcus Bagley. This is going to be his 3rd year, his junior year. He's only played 15 games in his first 2 seasons. He's fought injuries. He's definitely an NBA caliber guy, but we haven't seen it yet. So, he can kind of be an X factor. And if he's the guy that we thought was coming a couple years ago, Marcus could make a run at player of the year in the conference, and could be a huge X factor for this ASU team. And this ASU team is going to be, they're long, they're going to be good on D. So I just, Bobby and his offense and their ability to score, that's gonna be a huge question. So Stanford, they've been struggling ever since this portal stuff, because it's so hard to get into Stanford. Their admissions there are so hard. But yeah, man,
I like Washington just a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think the Pac-12, they've got a ton of coaches, I think, that are on the hot seat. Tompkins is one of them. Hurley's one of them. The culture at Washington, I mean, they've got talent. I do like Washington this year. They're another team that can make a run. They've got all the talent in the world. So, I'd love to see the Pac-12 put, 5-6 teams in there this year. I don't know if they can do that, but I like UCLA to win the regular season. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got the Power Four. You got UCLA, Oregon, Arizona, USC. Those are the 4. But we've talked about many times. Arizona State with their length, it's just like, maybe not in the regular season, but if they somehow squeak it into the tournament, if they win their conference, man, they're not going to be an easy out in the Pac-12, and especially in March when they get into these other teams where they don't see this type of length. Like, they're going to be long as hell. So it could be a sprinkle at plus 2,500, but for me, it's Oregon. It just comes down to coaching. Like you said, Altman's always got these kids ready to play. Not huge names on their team this year. They've lost a couple guys past couple games, but talent-wise, I think it's going to just come down to gelling. They got Guerrier, who's the older guy for them, who's still there. a big long dude who's going to be like the local leader for their team, who's been there, done that. And Altman, it's just Altman. It's just like his coaching.
And Will Richardson. Will Richardson's probably a candidate for Player of the Year in Pac-12. That dude's he's a great guard. So
I just think it comes down to coaching. So UCLA, Oregon would be my 2, but value-wise, it's got to be Oregon at plus 500. And I think you're going to see more value come, in these conferences where, it's going to be the second or third best team. You're not going to get much value at the best team in the league. And sorry guys, but not every best team in the league is going to win their conference. Like, it takes one injury for UCLA to be the 4th best team in their conference now. So I think sprinkling, not sprinkling, maybe even placing a real bet, a unit bet size on a team like Oregon, who's in a conference where it's probably going to be down to 3 teams, in my opinion, and you got a 1-3 shot in making it and hitting that future. So I like Oregon at plus 5, but I mean, Arizona's still a great head coach and UCLA too, but USC for me is the one I don't like. They've never been a team to prove it to me, and I'm not a huge fan of their coach either. So.
Yeah, and I think UCLA and Arizona, they're going to be not figuring out rotations, but I mean, probably figuring out minutes and stuff. They got just a lot of new. I mean, Arizona lost a ton from that team. I mean, Arizona's going to reload. I mean, they got Larson, they got Tobias, they got Kriza. They've got guys, and they've got a good class coming in, and they've got they had a transfer in. I forget where I said he was from, but they're going to be. Arizona will be there. Tommy Lloyd, he's a great coach. Cronin, good coach. Yep. So Altman, those are by far the 3 best coaches.
The 3-headed monster there, I think it is. But
yeah, yep.
The value there for me is Oregon. I can't put a future on a team that's not like plus 300 or more, in my opinion. Yep. So Oregon at plus 500 is my pick. Moving on to the ACC. Again, man, it's UNC. It has to be, but I can't place a long awaited future bet on a team who's $1.40 right now. I just can't do it. Yep. Virginia's got some guys coming back. Obviously, a well-coached team. Virginia, they're going to play their style, right? Coach talked about it all last year. It's going to be, slow, defensively minded. Yeah, yep. It's going to be a gross team to watch, but it's one of those teams where they're going to be in almost every game if they get some type of scoring from their guard play. And you said it before the show started. You like one of their guards, potentially be one of the, players of the year in the ACC. I forget his name. You know more than I do in the name department. But, and then you got Duke, who's coming off a non-Coach K first year, which I think is going to be a little bit of a struggle. So for me, it's Virginia or nothing. I know like Miami. I'm not a huge Miami guy. I know they have a lot returning, but for me, it's Virginia and that defense as the only future I'd look at for ACC.
Yeah, I actually look. I mean, if you're just looking for value, I like Miami. Miami brings in. I mean, I think they got the Player of the Year. I think North Carolina is loaded. I know Baycott's probably the favorite to win the Player of the Year, but you got Caleb Love there, RJ, Puff Johnson. I mean, they're going to be loaded up. So that's going to be a really tough team to beat. But I love this. Miami, they're not going to be very long. They're not going to be very formidable in the front court. But they've got 3 guards. They bring in Nigel Pack. He averaged 17 points last year. Isaiah Wong, he had a great tournament. So they're going to have a really, really good backcourt. So they're going to be my play for the ACC. And Virginia, there's value on Virginia too. And like you said with Virginia, it's been a ball, man. He gets kids in there that play his system. Not a lot of kids like to play that system, but he finds them. And, they're going to beat the ball down to 5 seconds and they're going to defend. That's what they do. So the problem with that is they're in every game, but they keep teams that they should pound in games too. So, they're definitely a team I like to play unders on. But, those are the 2 teams I'm looking in the ACC. I think Duke, they've got a ton of freshmen coming in. They're going to, obviously reload like they always do. First year without Coach K. But this is North Carolina's conference to lose. But if I'm looking for value, I'm going to look at Miami.
One player I like in this conference who not really gets much attention and could be a spot for if you see some ACC Player of the Year like consideration is the guy from NC State, Smith, Tre'Quan Smith.
Yep.
Good freshman year. I think he averaged close to 20 a game last year as a freshman. I think it could be like another step for him, especially if he wants to look towards the draft. After this year, I think it's going to be his team, obviously. North Carolina State's at plus 8,000 to win the conference. I think it's a little bit of a stretch to be a place to wager on, but if you want to look at some features like personal players wise, like he's a long shot to probably win ACC regular season player of the year. I don't know what his odds are. I don't have it in front of me, but he's one of those guys that's kind of not a sleeper, but just someone's looked over because of what conference he's in. With you got Derek Lively coming in as a freshman for Duke, who's going to be considered as one of the best players in ACC. You got Caleb Love, you got Wong, you got a lot of guys who are above him in the mindset of college basketball, but he could be a sleeper if he puts up 20, 22 a game, and he's got NC State staying in some of these games because he's playing so well. But for betting wise, I just think it's Virginia or nothing. I'm not huge on Miami. I've never been a Larinaga guy, and I think they're plus 1,400 for a reason. But Virginia, the middling movement right there, Virginia plus 700. But personal wise, I like Smith to have a good year for NC State. All right, moving right along here, we're gonna go to the SEC. My favorite conference last year to bet on. Last year they're just stacked. Kentucky sit at plus 180. You got Tennessee at plus 330. Arkansas plus 350, and then it drops down to Alabama and then Auburn, obviously in a rebuild kind of.
Yeah, and I think Florida. I think Florida's sneaky. Let's see. Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be – I mean, I like Tennessee to win this conference. I mean, I don't know what I didn't look at their odds. I'm sure they're probably pretty – I mean, they're probably this – Kentucky's favorite, I'm sure, and then Tennessee's probably right there, probably around plus 300.
Plus 330, yeah.
Yeah. So I really like this Tennessee team. They're one of my favorites to win it all this year. But this SEC, like you said, Alabama, Auburn, they're going to be rebuilding. Kentucky, they get – the player of the year back in Tshiebwe, and then Tennessee. So I mean, it's deep this conference. So yeah. I mean, but I don't know. I just kind of like looking at it. I taken a flyer on Florida. I know they had a lot of ups and downs last year, especially with I can't remember his name. Should be better when we're doing a show. Had the name written down, but
for Florida,
yeah, I kind of like Florida this year. But like I think this is Tennessee's conference. I really do. I mean, I know Kentucky's, their coach Cal, he's going to have them loaded up. But I really like Tennessee this year.
I mentioned it just now, like how Auburn's in a rebuild because they lost Jabari Smith, obviously, but they're still returning, I think, like 4 or 5 of their top 6 guys. They still got Katie Johnson, who's one of my favorite players to watch in all of college basketball, just a straight up bulldog. Still got Flanagan. I forget the other guy. A couple names I'm forgetting, but Bruce Pearl is still like one hell of a coach, and he's still have these guys ready to play in the SEC every game, and I think they're going to be like just one of those teams that just you're going to hate to play, like just.
Yeah,
Auburn
and you got Musselman in Arkansas. Arkansas lost a ton.
Yeah,
but they bring in the Mitchell brothers from Rhode Island and then a ton of freshmen. So Musselman, it'll be one of those things with Arkansas again this year. They're probably going to get off to a slow start, but give them November, maybe the early part of December to kind of figure their rotation out. Yeah. And they're probably going to be a team that you're going to have to deal with. So Arkansas, Musselman, he's going to have something to say about it too. So, but
and Devontae Davis still there too.
Yeah. So I really like Arkansas, but yeah, I mean, in Florida, just looking at value plays, but like again, I think Tennessee's the team to beat this year in the SEC. So I
don't know why Alabama is so high there. Like I think Auburn should be ahead of them. Like Alabama lost like just 3 dogs. Like J.D. Davidson's on the Celtics now. They lost Shackelford and Ellis. They're all gone. Like I don't know how they're ahead of Auburn. Like just stop. Like talent wise, I think Auburn's still ahead of them. Coaching wise, I still put Auburn ahead of them. I mean, Alabama plus. I think Alabama should be a 4-figure to win this conference. I think Auburn should be is probably the better team at the 4 spot, maybe in the 3 spot. But I don't. Alabama, I just don't think's there. I don't think they're a top 4 team in the SEC this year. SEC's kind of tough. So, yeah, I'm the roll with Auburn. That's my sprinkle. I don't place too many futures. But if I had to, I'm gonna sprinkle the Auburn. I love Bruce Pearl. I love Auburn crowd at home. It's freaking crazy. And
what's Arkansas at? About
Arkansas is at plus 350.
350. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it drops to Alabama at plus 800. I just don't think Alabama should be ahead of Auburn. I don't know. Not too much respect given to Auburn right now. And of course they lost Jabari Smith. Yeah, we get that. But I mean, you still got some dogs in that team. You know, I think Green's still there too. The guy at the bench, the tiny guy, the shooting guard there, who can drain it from half court. I think Auburn's right there with Arkansas, so they're going to be fighting for that 3 spot. Obviously, Kentucky, Tennessee's 1-2, but I think Arkansas, Auburn is fighting for that 3-4 spot too. So.
Yeah, Florida is going to depend on a bunch of, that was one of the things I'm looking at. They're going to depend on a bunch of transfers coming in. Kyle Lofton, Will Richard from Belmont, Alex Fudge from LSU, Trey Bonham, out of VMI. So they've got a lot of transfers coming in. So again, but with the portal, I mean, almost every team's going through it. So
they got Lofton and Richard, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, if Lofton can stay healthy, that's a big piece too. But
Yep. That's always. Yep.
So, all right, moving into my conference here, the Big East.
Yeah.
UConn's winning national champ. No, I'm just kidding. UConn, plus 500. I can't bet on it because I live in Connecticut legally, but Scotia's telling me it's plus 500. The problem with UConn, I'll start off with UConn, right? And I told you this since the transfer portal opened up, and they got solid guys in the transfer portal, right? It's just gelling though, and it doesn't help when Andre Jackson, who's arguably your best player, is going to be out till maybe even December. Now they're saying, and obviously early in the year it's not huge games, not conference games, but it's going to put them back a little bit, I think, and especially with a guy like Jackson who's not a typical ball hog, number one scoring guy. He's going to get his points used probably the ugly way. You know what I mean? He's going to get them from putbacks. He's not a great shooter unless he improved over the offseason. It's just what scares me with this UConn team is you're putting your points, and the guy you need to step up is Hawkins. And he's gonna need to be a Shabazz, Boatwright kind of guy. He's gonna need to be the guard, right? And in Big East play, you need guard play. And it's gonna be they got Hawkins is gotta be a top 5 guard in the Big East. And last year he was up and down a lot. I know he was still young, but it's gotta be his squad on the offensive side of the ball. They lost RJ Cole, Whaley, Tyrese Martin, Gaffney, and Aycock, who are that's the core, especially with Cole, Whaley, and Martin. That was the 3 guys right there. So it's obviously sad to see those guys go, but they got Tristan Newton from ECU, another piece of the backcourt with Hawkins. I think, man, if he puts up 15 a game, we're gonna be tough to beat, man. We're gonna be tough with that defense too. And Hurley's defense, but the 3 are obviously Hawkins, Newton and Jackson. They got to score 15 a game, I think. So it's gonna be tough at the beginning, but I think down the stretch, the free throw shooting, the blocking ability on the defensive side, and just the overall coaching advantage, I think it's gonna play well for them in the conference. So.
Yeah, I think Butler's going to be better this year. I do like UConn. I mean, Sean Miller now is at Xavier. So, Xavier's going to, probably not this year, but, give him a couple of years and, Xavier's going to be, tough in the Big East. I know everybody's all over Creighton, and I'm probably going to be proven wrong on this, but I'm not in love with Creighton. I think they're good. I think they're solid. Can they win the Big East? Probably. but I'm just not. I know everybody else is, at plus 150. I don't know. They struggled to score last year. I mean, they're going to be good. They're long. They're going to be good defensively. They got a good guard. They got a good big man. They're definitely going to be, a force to be reckoned with. But I'm not in love with Creighton like a lot of people are. So, I really like UConn. I like the talent there. Again, like you said, it's, but again, all these teams are having to, I know Creighton brings a lot of people back. So that's, probably one of the reasons, they're not going to probably have to gel as much. But, Nova's going to be, you can never count Nova out. They're going to be solid. I think Butler, like I said, Butler is going to be better. Providence is going to be good. So the Big East usually just beats up on each other. Yeah, I like UConn. I really do. I like UConn to win the Big East this year. Like you were saying, they got to find that dude. They got to find a guy that can, get you a bucket. But I love they're going to be in every game. Their defense is going to be elite. So, what's it? Sanogo? Is that his?
Yeah, Sanogo,
I mean, he's going to be one of the best, big men in the country. Right up there with like Baycott and those guys. I think he's going to. I think he's my pick for Player of the Year in the Big East. So, I really like him, and I really like UConn's team. They got to find some offense, like you said. But I think, again, November, all this stuff is just, we're looking at numbers, we're looking at projections, but we got to see, coaching is huge. Find, how do these teams gel? What do the rotations look like? I'm a big rotation guy. I love, I kind of watch to see, where they start at. And, by about the time conference play starts is like, where's their rotation at? So, you get a lot of feel for your team. So but I'm really high on UConn, and UConn's another one of my teams that I think as long as they don't run into New Mexico State, they'll be tough.
Scores that hurt.
Hey, at least you guys were in the tournament, right?
Dude, I remember that. Oh, man. St. Patrick's Day, man. I'll never forget it. That was bad. Yeah. So disappointing.
And it was a kid that played on my my son's high school
punk ass motherfucker too. Excuse my French, but a little punk. Couldn't miss. But yeah, Xavier too, man. Miller coming in there, I think it's good. Obviously, a better coaching position for him. They got Fremantle coming back. Nunji's coming back too. Jerome Hunter's back. They got some guys in that squad, and they started off really good last year. Like we talked to them, they're a really good squad early in the year last year. I think Fremantle's a type of guy who can carry a team into the postseason, especially him coming back off another year of developing, off-season work. He's a dark horse for Player of the Year. I mean, Fremantle is a guy, I think. Providence, you got Noah Locke's in here from Louisville. Bryce Hopkins is here from Kentucky. They got some transfers in to replenish that Providence squad. Seton Hall is obviously in a rebuild. St. John's lost their best player in Champagne. He was one of my favorite players to watch last year, but they got Cabrillo from Illinois, who's back home in New York playing for his hometown squad. They got David Jones, who's a good player from DePaul, who moved from DePaul to St. John's in a weird position for DePaul. I can't stand that freaking team. But again, UConn it's gonna come down to scoring, and they're gonna make their free throws. They're gonna be a good defensive team with Hurley block shots, but it just comes down to scoring, and they can't keep up with the squad. And not to mention, dude, Villanova, they still got some guys. Justin Moore is still there.
Yep.
I know he's come off an Achilles. Justin Moore, Caleb Daniels, Eric Dixon. And then they got a good freshman coming in, Mark Armstrong too, who's going to get some minutes. Not probably early in the year, but later on, he's going to get worked in the rotation. So watch out for them too. I know they're only plus 200, but you can't count out Villanova. I know Jay Wright's not there, but they still got some talent in that team. All right, moving on to probably my least interesting conference I'm going to talk about this whole year is Big Ten. It's just not exciting, I don't think. And maybe you have a different opinion, but it's just there's not that one team, right? I don't see too much exciting. One of my favorite players is in the Big Ten, and Jackson Davis for Indiana. He's back this year too, center for Indiana, who's going to have a good year, I think. Who's a dark horse for Player of the Year. I like the Indiana team, but Michigan's coming back too with have the Howard situation and Dickinson back too. But I like Indiana.
Yeah, I mean they got Trace back. I mean I think they're definitely the the preseason favorite, deservedly so. So, but this conference it's going to be the same story, right? I mean they're going to get what 8, 9, 10. They always get pumped up. It's always the Big Ten's the best conference. They get 8, 9 teams into the tournament, and then you can't find them by the Elite Eight. So, yeah, I mean I think all these teams. I honestly think the top 7 Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa, Michigan State, Purdue. I think flip a coin on all those teams.
Yeah.
I think Indiana's got the best player and Trace Jackson Davis. But yeah, I couldn't really get looking at this conference. I could not get a feel at all. I know Purdue lost a lot. They lost their best player, but they still got King Kong or whatever his name is.
King Kong. Cockburn.
No, isn't it Edey, the tall dude?
Oh, what team?
Purdue. Zach
Edey. Yeah. I thought you were talking about Illinois. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. No. But yeah, I mean I think this conference is wide open. You could almost throw a dart at those top 7 and just take the best number and play it. So I don't really have a lot on the Big Ten. They got to, it's a fun conference to watch during the year. It's my worst conference to bet on. Every year, the Big Ten is it's the worst. Absolute worst. I try to stay away from it as much as I can. I usually never have a feel for the Big Ten, and I don't know why. But it's just one of those things. It's one of those conferences that I struggle with every year. So, yeah, Trace Jackson Davis. That's my Big Ten breakdown. Indiana's probably the favorite, but like I said, throw a dart at the top 7. So
my favorite team is going to be Illinois. They have been the past couple of years. I bet them a lot last year. They just never. Now, injuries plagued them early in the year with Cabela with the wrist. And then Kofi was left out really to dry for most of the year. But they got some guys coming in. I don't know if you knew this, but Matthew Mayer's there.
Who?
Matt Mayer from Baylor.
Oh, really? Matt
Mayer's there. Terrence Shannon is there. Joe Dirt. Terrence Shannon, the Texas Tech wings there for Illinois. They loaded up a little bit, man. And they had the number 7 recruiting class coming into the year, so plus 550. Is Cockburn still there?
No, I think he's gone, isn't he?
I think he left, yeah. But I mean, those two guys, scoring wise, and they have the experience of tournament play. I mean, that not exciting, but I think it'd be fun to watch, like the 2 new guys in there. And then obviously they lost Corbella, which is a pretty big loss. But Mayer, Joe Dirt, and Terrence Shannon, 2 good scoring options right there for Illinois in a conference where you're going to need some scoring. Indiana, it's Jackson Davis, really. That's really it. Mike Woodson, I think it's the second year now with them.
Yep.
But they got Xavier Johnson coming back, Race Thompson, but not huge, guys for me in terms of college basketball. And they had a good recruiting class, but not huge. They got some good guard play coming in, but again, freshmen for me don't really turn the table or make a difference until later in the season if they're real players. Purdue, it's Edey, like you said. Michigan, it's Dickinson, and a bounce back year for them for Howard after that shit show of a year last year, coaching wise, personnel wise, just not good. And then Michigan State, it's Tom Izzo, who's going to be in conference play. It's going to be it's his conference, I think, coaching wise. So it's his to lose at this point for me, not talent wise, but coaching wise, and he's going to be in there to the end. He always is. So My play would be Illinois plus 550, but again, it's a coin toss right now for me. It's best for last. I mean, we both can agree at that. Big 12 conference. Whew.
Loaded.
I mean, 1 through 5. Pick one.
Yep, I agree.
Kansas at plus 215, Baylor at plus 230, Texas plus 350, Texas Tech at plus 900. I mean, even like West Virginia, Bob Huggins still there at plus 4,000.
TCU.
I mean,
TCU is going to be tough.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I like Baylor in the Big 12 this year. I mean, I'm not going to obviously bet a future on them, but they unfortunately had they were so. I mean, what were they down to 7 players in that game against North Carolina?
Yeah.
In that overtime. I mean, they were getting boat raced, and they had that huge comeback, and North Carolina hung on in overtime. But that was on the Manic ejection. I remember that Manic got ejected, and that started the comeback for Baylor.
Yep.
But Flagler, I like him for Player of the Year. I know Wilson from Kansas, Jalen Wilson. He's going to be a stud. But I love the leadership of Flagler. They got Cryer, Keontae George, Flo Thamba. They did lose Mayer, but they got Loner in from BYU. And they've got some pieces coming in, some freshmen. They got Dante Grimes, who I actually really like and know. So I think he's going to be a situational guy. I think he's going to be able to put up some points. But yeah, I really like this Baylor team. I think they're guard heavy. I like Flo Thamba. I think they're built for the tournament, and I'm huge on Baylor this year. I really like Baylor in the Big 12. But I mean, like you said, it's going to be a fun conference to watch all year long, man. I mean, it's Texas is Beard's. This is his second year, so Texas is going to be better. The school he left is going to be good. Texas Tech, TCU, Kansas is going to reload. So I mean, yeah, this is going to be a fun conference this year.
Baylor still has 2 good guards. Keontae George is going to be good this year. LJ Cryer, like you said. And guards rule good teams, in my opinion. So it's going to be good to see that. Obviously, Kansas losing, just a lot of pieces. Remy Martin, Christian Braun, Stanton McCormack. Obviously, Abaji's gone now too. It's going to be tough to see like how they replace all that. They obviously still have Jalen Wilson, who's good. But for me, it's like Texas. Like, it's time to show the fuck up. Like, Chris Beard, let's go, man. Come on. You got, 5 stars coming in. You got 5 stars there still right now. It's time to just show your balls and just, like, it's time, Texas. Come on. Like, just make a run. I want to see this team do good. They lost Ramey, which is, I think it's going to be a big loss, but they got a good recruiting class coming in. They got Marcus Carr still there. And your little friend there, Timmy Allen?
Yep. Teddy's little brother.
Yeah, where's that bitch? Is Teddy still at New Mexico State?
I don't know. Teddy and Timmy.
Timmy. In jail.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, I can't. Timmy says he's a senior, but man, it seems like he's been in school for 6 years too. I mean, both of those kids.
Teddy Allen's. No, he's gone.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine him playing another year. I mean, I think he went to 13 different schools, started at West Virginia, was at Nebraska, ended up at New Mexico State. But Timmy was at Utah for what I thought was 3 years. So he must have got a COVID year. So he's back. But he's Chris Beard. I mean, you just got great coaches. You got great players all through this. I mean, I just love the Big 12 this year. So like I said, I love Baylor. I think Baylor's, they're in my my preseason Final Four. I got Baylor, I got Tennessee in my preseason Final Four. Baylor, Tennessee. I love UConn, and I love Memphis. So those are the 4 teams that I really like this year. I mean, I know Houston. We're not talking about that conference, but Houston and Memphis. Those are going to be some fun games to watch. I think those are going to be some bloodbaths. So. But yeah, the Big 12 is going to be one of my favorite conferences to watch this year.
I think we can pull up some Final Four stuff too. Yeah. Final Four. Yeah, long shots for me, Final Four wise, it's still like, I hate picking the Big Ten, but it was my pick last year. Illinois was my pick last year to make the Final Four, and they just fell apart. But I mean, if they can get if that scoring can still keep up, and I like their coach there too. I like them at plus 1100. Villanova at plus 1100. Um, Baylor at plus 500. Even that's good value too. I think at plus 500. So you got some good value there. I mean, obviously you can't bet UNC and Kentucky and Houston.
Where's Tennessee?
330. Tennessee's at plus 900.
Yep.
So good value there. I like it. I like it a lot. So yeah, that's the first episode of the preseason. I mean, we can get into some obviously other conferences if you want to. I mean, hell, you got the AAC. You can get the AAC real quick if you want to. You got the A10 too.
Yeah. I mean, the West Coast too. You got good. Gonzaga's ruled that for a long time, but I actually like St. Mary's this year. I think St. Mary's is going to give them a run. They lost Kuzi, which is their point guard, but they bring a lot back. They're a good shooting team. It's a good defensive team, and they play really tough games against Gonzaga. So I'm really looking forward to seeing St. Mary's going to be one of my fun teams to bet on, I think, this year. And obviously Houston and Memphis, that's going to be fun. I think it's those two teams in that conference. And then in the A10, Loyola Chicago's in there now. You got St. Louis, VCU, Dayton, which I think is probably the best team in that conference this year. But yeah, man, I can't wait. Tomorrow it's like Christmas for me. November 7th. College basketball's here and I can't wait. And then yeah.
Any early lines you like for tomorrow?
Well, I'm going to one of the games tomorrow, and I'm going to probably be betting. It's probably going to be one of my plays tomorrow. It's going to be the under 131 in the ASU Tarleton game. Tarleton, they lost their top two scorers. In ASU, I got to see it to believe it. I think they're going to be, on the good side of defense. They're probably going to be an above average defensive team. So I'm looking for a lower scoring game there, probably, 65, 58. I don't know if ASU can cover the third. I think they're favored by 13 or 13 and a half, something like that. But I really like the under in that game. It's sitting at 131. So that's probably going to be one of my plays tomorrow. And I've started looking. There's a couple actually pretty good games that I looked at. But, yeah, I'll have all my stuff out tomorrow, and hit the – I won't do anything crazy. Probably won't have any 5-unit plays for a while. Everything's going to be kind of, small while I'm seeing how everything starts to play out. But yeah, I've got 5 or 6 plays for tomorrow that I'm already got circled and looking at. So
I got one play I'm looking at tomorrow. I don't know if the line's changed at all yet. I don't have it in front of me. I saw Memphis Vanderbilt tomorrow.
Who? Memphis Vanderbilt? Have you seen Memphis's preseason schedule?
No.
Oh, Jesus. It's like a gauntlet.
Really?
Yeah, let me go ahead and talk. I'm going to bring it up. I was looking at it yesterday. I was like,
Memphis is only -2 tomorrow in Vandy. I'm not a huge Vandy fan. I am a Memphis fan. Now, -2 seems a little too good to be true, but I think the books are just going to start, adjusting to this Memphis squad. I think, I don't know, -2 could be a pretty good lay for me. I don't know if you've looked at that game at all, Scoj, but.
No, not yet. But I mean, you're looking at, they start with Vanderbilt and then St. Louis, which is going to be a good team in the A10, and then VCU, which is going to be another good team in the A10. At Seton Hall, Ole Miss, Auburn, at Alabama, Texas A&M. Yeah, I mean they're preseason. They're not ducking anybody. And then
how about GCU tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about GCU. I mean, GCU was like one of my favorite teams last year to bet on, but I think Blackshear's back. They're going to be good. They've got a good program there. I mean, Drew's got a good program. They got a great student section. I think a lot of players want to come in there. To be honest, I haven't looked at Grand Canyon a lot this year. So I couldn't really tell you, give you a good, breakdown of the Grand Canyon, but I know Blackshear probably. I think this is his last year, so he's probably there. He's going to be. Let's see, who do they play tomorrow? Who's Grand Canyon play tomorrow?
They play Montana State.
Okay, yeah.
8-point game.
GCU at home. Yeah, 7.5, 8 probably. Yep.
And then another game was St. Mary's. Oral Roberts should be a good one too.
Yeah, Oral Roberts. I really like Oral Roberts this year. That's going to be.
That game's at 9 +9.
Yeah. So, is that at St. Mary's? Yep. So, yep. I don't know. I really like St. Mary's this year, but I really like Oral Roberts also. So that'll be interesting.
Sounds good, brother. Can't wait to get back to every Saturday with you. Of course, college basketball, our two favorite sports, obviously. But yeah, that's gonna do it for us today. Again, you guys can hit us up at GoGet'em_sports, at ScoJoeHoops. Any questions, comments, concerns? I know Sco just going to give some free plays as well during the first half of the year. I will be as well. And any NFL plays for the guys today, Sco? You laying off NFL today?
I was rooting for my fantasy team today, man.
So
freaking Kyler Murray, man, and Cliff Screensbury.
Yeah,
fucking.
Cliff
tool.
Sucksbury. This could be playing for his life right now.
Yeah, 5-year guaranteed contract. How you feeling about that, Bidwell? Jesus Christ. Him and
all right, guys. I cannot wait for this college basketball season. We'll end it here. You look for NFL bets. Go, I'll hit you up later.
All right, man. Take care.